the interest of time and keeping everyone's schedule on schedule, we're going to get going. Today's webinar is about the industry of Internet of Things. And there's a lot of exciting news at BroadSky. We have added an entire suite of Internet of Things to our service portfolio that we are now going to be making available to the channel through whichever master agent that you work with the most closely. In order to present this information intelligently and give it the scope and size that it deserves, Ken Mills, who is the CEO of IntelliSite, is going to be conducting today's webinar. He's going to walk through the service offerings that are now available, some of the use cases that you could look for immediate opportunities, and some of the technology that's behind that. Woven in throughout this is the BroadSky delivering the wireless connectivity to the end user. So we've now sort of synergized between being able to deliver the services on-prem and also the wireless connectivity backhaul. So Ken, I'm going to introduce you to the partner community that's joining our webinar today. And why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having us on the call and talking about IoT and wireless, how it comes together. We're excited to be discussing it. And what we're even more excited about is the ability to bring BroadSky and IntelliSite together under Epic.io. We have recently brought IntelliSite and BroadSky together under one company and created a parent company called Epic.io to really bring 5G, AI, IoT, and overall connectivity solutions with the edge together in meaningful outcomes for our customers and partners so that they can solve some of the most interesting challenges facing whether you're a city or whether you're a stadium or whether you're a hospital or whether you're a grocery retailer, whatever the case may be. All of these verticals are looking to solve problems around AI, IoT, edge, and connectivity. And now we can deliver all of that under one roof across the IntelliSite and BroadSky brands. So we're very excited to bring these two companies together and be able to collaborate on solutions and bring them to you in this discussion. What's also great is we've been doing this from an IoT perspective since 2001, right? We just kicked off our 20-year celebration at IntelliSite, where we have been delivering, creating, and building IoT solutions and solving, complex outcomes for our customers for a very long time. We've had a lot of practical experience. Our founders, grew up in the computer science space and worked with early companies like John Deere in developing the first smart tractors, smart combines, and then moved into the private sector space on their own and founded IntelliSite and started building the first, edge-based computing platform for video connected over, 3G back in the day and even, pre-3G back in the day, and then have migrated that into what we now call the Universal IoT Gateway. We've launched a number of software components, which we'll talk about. We've moved platforms to the cloud. We've transitioned throughout all of the big technology investments that have occurred. We've been a part of each of those as we've delivered IoT and edge-based solutions, even before IoT was the cool buzzword, right? When it was just good old-fashioned machine-to-machine communication. And as you may have heard, IntelliSite acquired BroadSky and created the holding company Epic.io. And we are continuing that relationship and that innovation spirit as we go forward in wireless as well as AI IoT. What got us excited about this space and why we're making some of these acquisitions and we're bringing these technologies together is data sets like this or data points like this. 57% of all of IoT growth over the next 4 years, just huge growth. And then 55% of all data. I mean, that's email data, YouTube data, IoT data, you name a data set, 55% of all data is expected to be IoT data by 2025. That's a massive amount of data, right? Just think about, what you do in your day-to-day lives and what data you interact with. Think about, more than half of that all being IoT data. And 70% of enterprises, right? These are not even counting public sector customers, but just 70% of enterprise customers, commercial customers, private sector customers will be running some sort of IoT use cases by 2023, which is only 2 years away from now, right? So that means everybody we're talking to, everybody we interact with is thinking about or is deploying or will deploy an IoT solution in the near future. And we should be in front of that conversation. We should be having that conversation early and often with our customers to make sure that we're guiding them to solutions and outcomes that actually work and that can scale and that will really help them solve the problems that they're trying to solve and not just be science projects that never get off the ground. So that's one of the biggest takeaways I hope you take from this session is that we can help you and your customers solve problems without having to go figure out, will this actually work, or will I actually get a return on this investment, or has this been proven before, right? We're going to bring proven, validated, tested, deployed, repeatable solutions to market that you and your customers can count on to solve real problems. And we do that across a number of what we call center of excellences across Epic IO, right? Where Broad Sky Networks is our first and top entry into the connectivity space and truly the wireless space, which hopefully brought all you guys to this call. And we're very excited about what we're doing with Broad Sky and where we're going to go with Broad Sky in the future. But we're fully integrating the connectivity solutions and value proposition that Broad Sky has into the rest of what we call our IntelliCore portfolio. So that's artificial intelligence, that's deep logic for data integration and data connection between the edge and IoT sensors and other applications like Salesforce or you name it, Kronos or ServiceNow or Workday or quite a few others that we can talk about. And then we have our Deep Insights platform, which is the visualization of the data once it's been connected through our Deep Logic and AI platform. So you're kind of bringing that all together in our core product offering, what we call IntelliCore. And then we can help you guys with assessments and design services to augment your resources. We're going to provide you the edge computing and the sensors to bring it all together from a hardware perspective. And then we can help you layer on top managed services for remote monitoring and management, and also a service called Eyes On, which allows us to actually look at a customer's environment and help manage it and support it remotely. These are all services we can wrap on top of the connectivity and the wireless services you're already providing to your customers. So it's a great opportunity to expand your wallet share within the existing base of customers, as well as find new opportunities with customers you may not have relationships with today to enter into that relationship with a new buying center outside of maybe someone who's focused on connectivity. Now you can talk to someone who's looking at it from a facilities perspective or from a security perspective or other IT sides of the coin. What's also really great about this is none of this competes with your wireless connectivity budget, right? So whether you're doing failover or LTE primary connectivity, or you're doing cellular software-defined wireless access network, SD-WAN, whatever technology you're talking to customers about from a connectivity perspective, that budget remains intact. And this is budget and opportunity that you can go into adjacent to that wireless budget. So it's a great opportunity to expand the wallet share with our customers and bring a whole set of value and services and outcomes to our customers beyond wireless, right? And these are just a handful of examples of where we're seeing a lot of growth when you look at IoT. And these are some of the turnkey IoT solutions that we offer. SCaaS is a term that we coined smart and safe community as a service. So that's bringing things like, park safety, parking lot safety, all kinds of things around intelligent transportation, pedestrian safety, things like healthy living, so air quality, leak detection, CO2 detection, all those kinds of things that come into play around creating a safer, smarter community. And that community could be a city, that community could be a county, that community could be a state, that community could be a university, a tech college, a community college. It could be an enterprise campus, right? So community doesn't always mean it has to be a city, right? It's more of a collection of people and buildings and resources that are working together and need data to help solve a transportation issue or a healthy living air quality issue, or they have a safety or security concern and they want to add video or sensors to help respond to that. Things like illegal dumping, park safety, wireless connectivity to close a digital divide, again, air quality for passing of infectious disease, all those things fall under what we call smart and safe communities. And we can help you deliver this as a service, which means that the customer can pay little to no money down for the solution and have full, complete support, hardware, software, all covered, much like you do with BroadSky. You could take that same model and apply it to smart and safe communities and have a recurring cost for the customer, which makes it easier for them to consume, less money up front that they have to spend, and more consistent services and support provided throughout the life of the contract, right? So it's a win-win for them and us in the equation. Another big area we're seeing lots of growth and have seen a lot of growth in 2020 is around what we call heuristic-based monitoring, or HPM for short. And heuristic is a word you don't often see, but it's a great word that really describes what we're doing, right? It's looking at people and the people's activity and the people's behavior and the people's body language or information about people to help make decisions. That information could be the temperature of someone's face or head. That could be the way that they walk, or how many people, or how close they are. Are they wearing a mask? Are they, or what's the occupancy utilization of a conference room? What's the occupancy utilization of your retail environment? What's the occupancy utilization of your office building? Is it being used like you thought it would? How long are the lines to get into a facility? All those kinds of things can be tied into our heuristic-based monitoring platform. And then the last group of products that we focus on delivering a lot of turnkey solutions around. Again, these are just samples. These aren't everything, but these are some of the key ones that we see a lot of opportunity and big projects around. Is retail behavior analytics, right? How long are people spending in a store? Where are they going in a store? How long are the lines? How long is it taking someone to check out? How long is it taking before someone gets talked to from a store associate? All these things can help retailers understand what's working, what's not working, and how to best attract. Just some kind of customer examples around leak detection for IT assets. Working on data centers to make sure that the IT assets aren't having a leak that could cause damage. Cold storage for healthcare. This could be for blood supply, pharmaceuticals for cancer drugs, and as well as the most popular one that people know about is the COVID vaccine. Being able to provide the IoT devices and platform to provide a better solution for cold storage as it relates to healthcare. And then cold storage for food spoilage, whether that's on a truck traveling down the road, or whether it's cold storage in a retail store, or cold storage in a warehouse, right? So making sure that you're not losing any food to spoilage because you're not maintaining the right amount of temperature control for it. And that could be at an airport, as you see here, or that could be at an ice cream truck delivery company, anything in between. And then air quality for making sure that the classrooms or offices have the right ventilation, because there's been a lot of new studies that show that the type of ventilation or the amount of CO2 in an office space can really correlate to the amount of risk associated with the transmission of the COVID virus or other viruses in general, not just COVID. So understanding what the air quality is and what is going on from that perspective can be super valuable for customers to make sure they have the right environment for their employees. And if they see a situation where it's dangerous, they can literally do a red, green, yellow situation like you see in the pollen on the news and say, hey, we have a red day of ventilation in our office. Let's send everybody home and reduce the risk. Or we have a green day, everything's good to go. Ventilation is working great. So those things are really important as we go forward in this brave new world, kind of post-COVID. And IoT sensors and devices have a huge impact on customers' ability to do that. So I'm going to kind of skip ahead here, and one of the big things that customers get out of our platform, which I'll talk about a little bit more deeply here in a second, is proactive insights, collaboration on events, enterprise quality management for the solution. Let me close my Outlook here so we don't get these events. And overall, simplified deployment, compliance, all those kinds of things that matter in ensuring that the customer is getting the information they need. And in this case, for healthcare, they needed NIST certified sensors so we could validate and prove that the sensors had been tested and actually are generating the temperature results necessary to make a decision. And this can be around, opening of the freezer door, to humidity, to making sure the freezer has the right voltage, to vibration, which can usually mean that there's a motor problem that might likely show itself later. And by knowing that there's vibration today, you could preemptively fix that freezer so you don't get into a situation where you're scrambling to prevent spoilage. So there's a lot of different things that go into this beyond just putting a temperature sensor in there. The temperature sensor is kind of the easy part. It's about the whole ecosystem of sensors that give you the whole picture of what's really happening that provide the most value. So how we do that is we integrate that into our Deep Logic, Deep Insights platform, and this will not be a deep dive education on all things IntelliSight from a software perspective, but I do want to introduce some of the key components and show you some visual examples of how they come together. But what we're able to do is develop and deploy this solution that can help you manage the life cycle of the devices, as well as data aggregation of what data is coming from those devices and what other data sets you want to integrate to. And there's some examples on the bottom there, some of the ones we've done, these just very, very small amount of examples, alert management to customization to communication, you name it. All of those things can be done and tied through our Deep Logic and our Deep Insights platform. Deep Logic is the platform underneath the hood that does the integration, and Deep Insights is the platform that you see on the front end that gives you the visualizations that you're seeing on this screen here. So it's a combination of both those platforms that bring the value to our customers. And here's an example of our solution that a customer uses for energy management and consumption around smart metering. And this could apply to a office building, to a campus, to a hospital, to an airport, to a retailer, to a city, you name it. Energy management and energy consumption and utilization is super important, and that's become a huge topic on the news today with the unfortunate events going on in Texas. Right, this is something that is a real issue for a lot of places. So understanding what the utilization is, how it's trending over time. Are there ways to save energy? Are there energy spikes? Are there situations where maybe something's not acting correctly the way that we think it would? Having that insight can be super valuable. Same thing with like fuel tank level, right? So this can be fuel tank for a generator, making sure it's at the right fuel tank level. This could be fuel storage and distribution. This could be you could not have it be fuel tank. It could be grain tank level. It could be any kind of volumetric measurement of an object can be measured, and you can make sure that things are what's happening. You could also tie it to what the level is versus how much has been taken out, and does that match up? And is there an issue where someone might be stealing fuel, or might be stealing grain, or might be stealing whatever you have in there, and the level isn't matching what you actually have dispensed, and some of those, or there might be a leak that you might want to understand that could create an environmental concern or a loss of revenue. So these are all kinds of different things that can come as a result of these types of sensors. This image is not super sexy, but be able to understand what's going on with the sensor, what's the signal strength, what's the battery level, what are is it working, is it not working, do we have any hardware events, that whole fleet management, remote monitoring and management interface to tell you, is the system operating the way that we expect it to, or is it not operating the way we expect it to, and therefore we have an exception and we need to understand what's going on. As you see, we go from light to dark. So we have, just like your cell phone or your laptop, we can go from dark mode to light mode. So here's a light mode of that same platform, which this is for vehicle traffic analysis, pedestrian analysis, public transportation traffic. So this could be for a campus, a city, a town, even a county or state. We can provide real-time information about what's going on from an AI perspective. We could tie it into video management systems, whether that's Genetec or IPconfigure or Milestone or other platforms out there. We can tie those systems into our platform and integrate our data with the video data so that you can correlate things like illegal dumping. What's the license plate of someone that's doing illegal dumping? What's the license plate of someone who's trespassing on my property? Hey, there's someone on my property at 2 a.m. I should be notified of that because it might be a vandalism or theft situation. So these are things that we can do from a video integration standpoint. And a lot of this is powered by our edge computing platform, product that we call the Universal IoT Gateway. One of our first innovations over the last 20 years is creating this edge compute platform. And we've advanced it recently with our next generation AI-based Universal IoT Gateway So we're running full AI algorithms all the way down to the edge across all of these use cases that I've talked about. And we can do this at very high temperatures and very low temperatures across the Americas. And we have installations all over the US and other parts of the world. And we have some of these systems are running for 10 plus years in the same configuration we sold it 10 years ago. So we've learned how to build these solutions in a very hardened manner that are also very flexible so that they can adapt to changes and expectations over time that customers might have and needs that customers might have that require maybe a different algorithm or a different data integration. We can do that without having to go back and forklift upgrade the system. And a good example of this is these are just some of the data inputs that we can take into our platform to generate results as part of our Deep Logic Deep Insights. So for example here, generator power output, runtime, vibration. We have a aqueduct where we're actually looking at vibration of the aqueduct walls. And if they start vibrating beyond a certain threshold, there's likely something jammed in the aqueduct wall. And over time, it'll vibrate so much that you can actually break the concrete, crack the concrete, and create a serious situation for flooding or other very expensive repairs. And understanding that vibration and what's going on is very important. And then integrating that to video for video verification, really completes the picture to know, hey, yep, there's a big log stuck in there. We need to send out, this kind of truck to go service it. So you send out one person one time with the right tools, save a lot of costs, save a lot of time, and much quicker results. So that's just kind of another real world example. But these are just some of the sensor inputs we could take in and kind of all the decisions we can make from it and tie into our platform. And these can be configured in many different ways. They can be on trailers, they can be on mobile kits, they can be on light poles, they can be even converted into covert solutions, right? So there's lots of different ways that these solutions can be deployed and configured for our customers. And so it's not a one size fits all approach. We can design the right edge compute platform, edge platform necessary for our customers. And I'm just going to kind of give you a brief review of our AI, and then Tom's going to we're going to show you some customer examples, and then Tom's going to talk about who do you talk to and some questions that you should ask, and then we'll take the Q&A. So here's a recent customer. It didn't play for some reason. All right, go figure, Mary. It worked great in our dry run. This one didn't. So we'll send these links out to you, but here's the ability to count people coming through turnstile. So this is at a transit system. How many people are paid, how many people are coming through, does that match up? We can do vehicle characteristics, what type of vehicle is coming for like grocery pickup to automate that process. Also demographics, understanding, what are the demographics of people coming and going into your facility. So all of these different things can be tied into that edge compute platform across the cameras that are deployed there. All right, let's see. Oop. All right, Tom, let's stop sharing real quick. Oh, there you go. It worked. All right. So these are just some examples of customers that we have. And they're across all verticals: public sector, technology customers, retail, commerce, financial institutions, hospitality, entertainment, healthcare, telecommunications, energy, transportation, right? So we have customers across all the different major verticals, from small customers to major significant brands. So we have solutions and work with a lot of big brands across the US and outside the US. So I'm going to kick it over to Tom, and we're going to talk about who we should talk to. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so this is a broader scope of operations and opportunities versus talking to the person who's arranging connectivity. Different people are driving different opportunities to want to see where this is coming from. And so it's a chance to broaden out with your current customer base. Anyone who wants to see what's happening on site, this is an application for, as well as people who are monitoring solutions. And so you're getting deeper into operations. BroadSky traditionally has been very, very good at getting internet connectivity into remote places and also providing failover or fast internet to places that couldn't get it. But what was connected to that was a little bit beyond our scope. Now what's connected to it is very much within our scope. And so it gives people the opportunity, from a sales agent perspective, there are people out there who are trying to solve problems. They want to see what's happening on site. They want to know what their facilities that they no longer can afford to have an operations person sitting on site monitoring things. They now want to monitor it remotely. and they want to get more data from it, and they want to see it real time. And so these are just different examples of people we could talk to, but the larger concept, I think, is that your customer base that you already have a deep relationship with, there are people within that organization that are looking for these services, and you may not be talking to them now, or maybe you are. But in either case, it's a good time to engage in this conversation with your current customer base, because I think that's where the easier wins are going to be. You've been a valued provider for years, and now you have an entirely different solution set to bring to them. The other thing I want to point out, there's two more points I want to make that was in this presentation. One, BroadSky has never focused very much on the public sector. Selling to cities, selling to counties, selling to municipalities has not been a big part of ours. And in the agent community, it seems to bifurcate between some people are in that industry and some people are not. If you are, the smart city as a service and municipalities and government organizations, as well as quasi-public things like aqueducts or infrastructure, which is sometimes sort of a public-private thing, but they're monitoring everything. They really want to know what their assets are, and they have millions and millions of dollars of assets in wastewater treatment or pumping stations or moving water from point A to point B, and they need to monitor those things to make sure that they stay up and running. So it's an entirely new market and market outlet that you can go after, which is basically tax money. We're not just focused on private enterprise anymore. There's an enormous opportunity for people who are in this or people who want to be in this to sell to cities, towns, counties, and there's different divisions within cities, towns, and counties, and they're all monitoring their assets on a continual basis. It's very important to them. So, and then the second point I want to make that was sort of is within this, but these do not have to be greenfield deployments. The IntelliSite platform is very good at stitching together or smoothing out current IoT deployments, which tended to be one got deployed on a certain platform, and then a different set of sensors got deployed on another platform. And pretty soon we have 4, 5, 6 different systems out there. They don't talk to each other. They can't get actual intelligence off of them. They can't really read it, and they're sitting in 5 or 6 different databases. And what the IntelliSite platform is very good at is providing almost a middleware solution. So you don't have to change out your sensors. You don't have to change out your cameras. Those assets in the field could be perfectly viable, but they're just not reporting properly. And people can't get them to work in the real world how they were supposed to work on paper. So the opportunity to go into an existing deployment that people are frustrated with and streamline it and make it work using the existing assets in the field is very much in play. So that, IoT plus public plus smoothing out current IoT, those are 3 new areas that it's wide open. There is no acknowledged leader in the channel in IoT. We aim to be that acknowledged leader. If you have appetite for new product and the next wave, this is it. There's probably more money in monitoring the things on the end of the internet connection than there is in the internet connection. And this is an opportunity to get into all of those opportunities along with BroadSky and IntelliSite.
Great points, Tom. I mean, one thing I'll add to that is we've been seeing connectivity as a key part of the IoT solutions for years and years and years, really since the inception of IntelliSite. So, even though we can extend beyond the wireless connectivity portion to deliver IoT solutions that may not be connected over cellular, there's still a significant amount of the opportunities that are, and I don't have the exact percentage, and I probably should, to be honest, but I would say conservatively 70% of our solutions involve cellular connectivity either in the primary path or the backhaul or the failover in IoT. So it's a great add-on to the connectivity, but as Tom said, it's a great opportunity for brownfield scenarios where maybe connectivity is not in play, but IoT sensor management is still really important for the customers. So it's a great way to enter in the account multiple different ways.
Yeah. And then as far as outreach goes, and then so it's just we just kind of threw out some questions of where we can get started. Everybody has their own style. But the concept here is just sort of questions that you could perhaps read and then put into your own language based on your own customer base. In the larger point here is what problems are your customers having in the field today as related to operations, sensor management, and getting data from where their assets are deployed. The larger trend in America is people are trying to get by with fewer people and get by with more technology. And so where they used to have, they would roll a truck and go on a route. Now they don't want to roll the truck until there's an actual need. So one of the examples is, oddly, how much grease is a restaurant using? And in the old days, you would just send a truck out and you would collect the old grease and then you replace it with the new grease. Well, it's expensive if the tank's only 10% full. If you put a sensor on that and you only went out when it was 90% full, then your truck rolls would drop by 40%. And that would just be profit straight to the bottom line. And you'd be delivering the exact same service to the restaurant that you did before. And you can apply that concept to anything that's repeatable but unmonitored. If you made it monitored, how efficient would it become? There's so many examples, and I think the genius of the channel is finding those applications based on automation versus people and where can costs be taken out. And customers are all very interested in this because they want to lower operating costs. And anytime they can lower those operating costs while delivering the same service, those costs will drop directly to profit to the bottom line. So all of these services will have a pretty quick ROI on them. Customers are interested in doing this to save money, not to spend money. And so it's pretty easy to look at how much money is being spent today. And if we introduce this technology, how much money would we save? And the ROIs are coming in, at 6 to 12 months. If they go cash, and if they go pay as you go, then they're instantly profitable. So we can deploy these in either scenario. They can pay money for equipment and then pay a smaller management fee, or the classic broad sky method of we'll put all the equipment out in the field and just charge it as a monthly service fee and keep capital expenditures low. Depending on what your customer's appetite is for CapEx, we can make it work either way. So please review these questions, and I'm sure you guys actually could come up with better ones, but we thought this was a good starting point.
Yeah, and Tom brings a great point. The channel comes up with so many great ideas. We had a channel partner bring up an opportunity around food oil, right? So grease oil traps, right? So there are companies that go collect that oil and that from one is a fee for the restaurants, but there's also companies who pick it up and they sell it for other purposes. And so Tom, made a great example about running routes that you may not need to run. Well, during COVID, some restaurants are open, some restaurants aren't. The hours are different. The utilization is different. So the traps are getting full at different times, at different ratios. But if you run the routes the same way you've always run it, you have a ton of waste in human capital and other expenditures to go run this route and not know exactly how much oil you're going to come back with, and was it even worth it to go do that. So having IoT sensors also connected back by 4G, 5G to be able to say, yep, these tanks are full and need to be picked up and collected, and then creating a route based on actual need and demand is a huge way to optimize with, in the sense maybe fewer people or more optimized routes, or, have a better idea of exactly what you're going to pick up. And unfortunately, sometimes people pick up, 100 gallons, or that's how much they expected, but they only come back with 50. Well, what happened? Where'd the other 50 gallons go? Did they get sold along the way? Was it really not 100 gallons to begin with, right? There's a lot of these operational questions that oftentimes get lost in the weeds. And, having that data to understand exactly what's there, what's not there, and be able to report on that and generate your route planning based on that is a huge ROI and a huge value in that specific use case. So, that's a use case that I think this channel can really drive, because there's a lot of companies regionally that do that type of work, and we can show a huge ROI very, very quickly on just that one use case as an example. So take it back over to you, Tom, on who to contact.
So from a contact perspective, please reach out to your channel manager in your region. And so it's Jim Miller in the Northwest, Maureen Donovan in the Southwest, and Todd Hulsenbeck in the Southeast, and then Ash Kakish in the Midwest. Please reach out to the person, the channel manager where you sit, not where your opportunity sits. BroadSky works with all the main master agents in the country. And so whichever master agent you feel most comfortable with, that's just fine with us. Additionally, we have inside sales resources, Alexis Modi in the West and Ben Silverberg on the East. So that rounds out the BroadSky sales team. What came to mind when Ken was talking about routes is just, as a personal side, my son started driving for an Amazon contractor 3 weeks ago for a college job. And what he reports back is they are perfectly efficient. He gets in the truck, his route is perfectly planned. He knows exactly where he's going. And the next package that needs to be delivered is already on the back of the truck. And so he starts at the back and he works to the front. There's no wasted motion. He knows exactly what he's doing at all times. The reason I'm making this point is that that's the operational efficiency that America is moving towards. Amazon is driving the cost out of multiple industries. And so if they're perfectly efficient in their industry, every industry is going to have to become perfectly efficient to compete, either or Amazon's going to step into it, or somebody's going to emulate Amazon and step into it. So if you're in a business, you need to wring out the inefficiencies on that you've sort of historically borne, because that's where the technology of America is going. And so no one can ignore this. The way it used to be done just can't be done. Just as a tiny little example, we just put a tank sensor monitor in for a company in Oregon. They had been driving out to figure out how much was in the tank. It was a 45-minute round trip, and they went out there once a week. And sometimes they needed to go out there and sometimes they didn't. And they put a PepLink router out there, they connected it to the sensor, and now they know what tank levels are, and they don't now have to make that once a week trip. It's a tiny example, but it could apply to the entire country. Whatever it costs to send that person out, and as far as personnel and fuel and maintenance, they don't do it now unless they have to. So there's a million examples here. The opportunity to get in deeper into your customers' operational expenses and improve them is enormous here. As much as providing quality wireless connectivity anywhere in the country is exciting, and it is, and we can all agree to that, this layer that adds on here now takes you so much deeper into the organization, makes you so much more of a key player into their actual operation and profitability. And then the add-on sales on top of this with security and with SD-WAN and with selling additional services and with selling cloud services on top of it in order to store this data so everyone can access it. It's strategic. It's a door breaker, but it's also the follow-on behind this for trusted advisors is enormous. So this is really a strategic opportunity for both BroadSky and Telesight, but also for the agent community that we serve to really level up as far as importance to the organizations that you serve. Okay. So we are going to move to the Q&A, I believe. And so Ken, you want me to read the question and you answer it, or would you like to read the question? We can go either way.
Got it.
Okay, so why don't you start on the Q&A side and we'll go all the way down to the bottom and then we'll switch over to the chat side. That's how we traditionally do this.
All right. A couple good questions on the content itself. Will it be made available? I think the answer is yes, and we'd love to do deeper dives with each of the folks on this call, with the BroadSky team and the Intellisite team working in partnership with the BroadSky team supporting you. So there's a whole organization on the Intellisite side that the BroadSky team can bring in and help you from solution design and architecture, as well as quoting and demos and all the things necessary to help you close a deal. And that your BroadSky regional representative will make that connection and will help you. But we'd love to do deeper dive, deeper training. You know, we definitely went quickly through this content. We just wanted to introduce to you the whole portfolio and kind of the opportunity of what's out there to get you guys interested in kind of what's there. So Steve Jennings has a number of great questions. So I think it'd be wise to do a great follow-up with you, Steve. I appreciate your great questions. But we absolutely can integrate with point of sale data, and in the AI space with computer vision, we've actually integrated with, like, hey, like all of us have probably done it, right? Grocery pickup. You place an order, you go up to the grocery store or the big box retailer, whatever the case may be, understanding computer vision that you have parked in that parking lot, you've checked in, connect that back to point of sale, notice how long you've been waiting, and then generate things like, we know that if you wait for 22 minutes, which believe it or not, in some cases you do, in grocery pickup, you're going to leave and you're probably not going to shop at that store again. So, how do you maintain less than that time period? And so there's lots of things that go into it, but the short answer is absolutely integrating into surveys and CRM and point of sale type platforms is definitely a core functionality of where the Deep Logic platform can integrate. Another really good question that Vinay asked around sensors. Yes, we do provide the sensors, the LoRa gateway, the cloud management platform of the LoRa data, the wireless access points, the edge computing, all the hardware necessary to make the solution work. We would provide that through BroadSky, and you would use your BroadSky partnership to purchase any of the technology, software, or any combination of that we talk about from an IntelliSite perspective. So you don't have to create a new relationship. You don't have to, buy from someone new. You can buy from BroadSky, and you'll have the IoT solutions powered by IntelliSite available through BroadSky. And we'll be launching a number of these solutions that are more off the shelf and more repeatable very, very soon. But as you probably imagine from the presentation, if you have a more complex opportunity, we'd be happy to put something together for that as well. Unified Communications as a Service. So that is something that. Well, that's a BroadSky question. So I'll kick that back over to you, Tom.
Yeah, the question is, do you have UCaaS integrations to IntelliSys partners that will work with BroadSky? Short answer, yes. Long answer, yes. We get this question a lot. Does the BroadSky wireless service power VoIP? And VoIP is really an older term, and now it's become UCaaS. Can you run UCaaS over our services? Absolutely. And we've proven this out over 5 years. We don't sell UCaaS. We've never sold UCaaS. We intentionally don't sell UCaaS because we're not interested in competing with your chosen UCaaS platform. But we have connected to every major UCaaS and minor UCaaS platform that exists in the market today. UCaaS absolutely works over BroadSky, either on a failover basis. So if you fail over to us, your voice will work. In fact, we can introduce technology that's called unbreakable internet, so that all your voice over IP sessions, your UCaaS sessions, stay, even in a failover event. They will all stay valid, as well as your VPN and your Zoom. And it will also work as a primary. The only caveat I put on that is that we need to make sure we bring enough bandwidth in. So if I'm going to power 50 simultaneous sessions, I want to make sure I have enough upload capacity for that, but we can well engineer for it. So UCaaS integration on either failover or primary works great. If you put us out in the field, it will run the internet and the VoIP at the same time. And I'm thinking about, like, for instance, construction trailers. We'll drop us in and they will run the site, and they will be downloading their CAD files and running all their internet use, but then they'll also use their VoIP phones over us as well. So the answer is unreservedly yes on UCaaS integrations.
Great answer. Wes, I totally agree, right? These existing IoT issues and smoothing them out is really where we focus. When we look to get into the IoT space, and we work with the private equity backer of IntelliSite and now BroadSky, we looked at a lot of different companies, and we didn't honestly find a lot of companies that were profitable and growing in this IoT space, because it's challenging, right? It's challenging to bring these solutions to market without the right level of experience and the whole product, right? You need the whole thing. If you just have a sensor, that doesn't really work. If you have just the software, that doesn't really work. So you really need to bring it all together to really get the outcome that the customers are ultimately after. And that's something we've learned, the hard way, right? And so you get the benefit of our hard-earned experience to apply to your IoT solution. So, Wes, I think your attitude is great. We're excited to partner with you and go forward. Vinay asked another question about security. So, I'm on a number of cybersecurity boards. Our chief digital officer is also on a number of advisory boards with cybersecurity companies. And, we really, really have a strong belief in cybersecurity being designed in from the ground up, and then working through the entire connection. So using, secure operating systems to secure encrypted and token-based data transfer, to using, software-defined networking, using, security on the devices themselves. So, we do really look at it from a whole security perspective. It doesn't mean you can't layer on another security platform on top of it. If you want an extra layer, you definitely can. But we absolutely try to build security into the system from the ground up. And we've had very, very, very good results with our third-party audits, as well as audits that have been done by some of those major brands you saw on the previous slides. So we've been through a lot of audits, security audits with major companies, and we've been able to pass all the ones that we've worked with, and we've improved over time, and we will continue to monitor and improve on our security platform to make sure it's keeping up with any new threats as they come. But that's absolutely a great question, and something we're happy to get into with customers that want a deeper dive on that construction, or that question. So I was reading Deborah's question around construction sites. So BroadSky absolutely has a month-to-month plan. and the BroadSky team can walk you through that, Deborah. And we have quite a few, or the BroadSky team has quite a few construction opportunities and temporary site opportunities that are existing customers that come up and come down on a regular basis. So, Tom, if you have any more to add, but that's something that's very common.
Yeah, actually, construction sites are 16% of BroadSky revenue. It's the same. We saw the same. They all have the same problem, and we solve it over and over and over again. They can't get reliable connectivity to a site that doesn't have infrastructure yet. And the only thing I would add to that, Deborah, on month to month, is what our construction companies who use us repeatedly is they just move the router. And so the router is not tied to an address. The router is tied to a trailer, and a construction company will move the trailer on site for 8 months, and then they'll move it to the next place. They can just take the router with them. And as soon as they get to the next place, they'll have internet connectivity. So at one point, we have a company in South Florida who builds apartments. They're incredibly busy. They have like 35 or 40 routers with us, but they've moved them now 100 or 150 times. And the advantage, and what they decided was, we're just going to bring this with us, and this is how we run our internet. And since they went to that 4 years ago, they haven't had any outages, and they've never had to worry about whether or not I'm going to have internet when I get on site. They just have internet as soon as they get there. There's some cost advantages to that, where they don't have to go month to month, or if they want to go month to month, that's fine too. We do it all the time. So the answer is yes, but they might not need to go month to month if they're going to continue to use the service. Okay, and Deborah said, awesome, thank you.
All right.
Steve had a question on, the question was, can you elaborate on the retail pickup app showing how efficient the retail process is? And we're not going to dive into a case study, but this is a very elegant and very mature service that does outline, and I think it's worth talking about.
Absolutely. And we have some data we can share with you in a deeper dive that we do with you as a follow-up that we can show you, exactly the AI output and how that all works, so you can get all the different answers from those questions. But it is a very common ask these days, from major retailers down to even smaller retailers, where they're just trying to make sure they're capturing as much of the spend possible that customers have when they enter the store, right? Whether you're entering it for grocery pickup or curbside pickup, or whether you're coming into the store or not, the shopping dynamics have changed. I know all of us on this call, I'm sure, have seen that change ourselves. And so it's really about, how do we help those companies adapt? So that's definitely a worthwhile deeper dive conversation.
Yeah, it's a really cool app. The camera picks up the license plate. The license plate goes to a database that says your customer's here, and you're notified without them having to notify. They just know, and then the person can walk out and hand them their stuff. It cuts down cycles, and it's a great experience for the end user.
Yeah, and you'd be like, why wouldn't the person just click the app to say they're there? Well, you're actually be surprised how many people don't download the app or don't think to click when they get there, and they just sit there in the space and not know that they are supposed to let the store know they're there. So the store is busy. He's not even realizing they're there. They're sitting there, and an hour, literally an hour later, they're still sitting there and very frustrated and never come back to the store. And they could have saved themselves a hassle by clicking. So how do you make that experience easier for everybody, right? And if you think about all the different shoppers and all the different technology skill sets of a shopper that comes to a store, sometimes the keeping it simple is better. So having the system recognize that someone's there and needs help, and maybe that step further, that this person is tied to this order, and just automate that for the patron is a great way to go.
Yeah. And James asked this question, and we answered it, but I'll just go ahead and answer it again. The question was, we have an agreement with BroadSky. How do we engage the IntelliSite team on opportunities? I'll just answer that again. Please reach out to your channel manager in your region to bring specific opportunities that we need to qualify, and we'll bring the appropriate either off-the-shelf product or custom-made service for your IoT opportunity. All right, that exhausts the questions on the Q&A. I just moved over to the chat side. And Ken, can you see those as well?
Yeah, we got all those. I think we answered all those questions other than the pricing question, that's definitely something we have some off the shelf pricing solutions we can provide. The BroadSky team can provide you, as well as custom design and pricing based on a specific project. But those will be provided by your regional BroadSky person. But other than that, I think we answered all of the questions except for the very last one, Tom, which is a BroadSky one about E911 updates.
Yeah, so the question is, wireless routers being moved to a construction site. Who manages updating the E911 database for the VoIP? Generally, the VoIP provider will update that. So they've moved to a new location. You were in South Carolina, now you're in North Carolina. So the new VoIP system registers where its new site is, and when they're in their new physical address, then they update the E911 piece from there. So we provide the functionality to make it work. All the functionality that's embedded in that, it's as if it was connected to a wired solution. The fact that it's delivered wirelessly is cute, but to some extent irrelevant. Our goal at BroadSky is to deliver a wireless connection that works as well or better than any wired connection you can bring in. So all the functionality that you would have for any application will work the same. So I believe that answers that.
I do like the Dinier's comment about this could be something we could tie into via AI. Absolutely, you can do some location-based awareness and update some things. So, we will definitely put that on the list of things to discuss for an upcoming announcement from BroadSky around some new products in the future. So that's a great thing that we could put on the list of ideas.
Okay. All right, so that exhausts the Q&A, and I guess to some extent repeating myself, the opportunities are enormous for those that sort of seize the day early. There is no dominant provider in the channel for IoT/AI. If you would like to be that provider, we have the tool set to deliver that for you. If you were on the front edge of SD-WAN and saw it coming, there was a lot of business attached to that. This is that. Every business is interested in this. The use cases are legion. And to the extent that you get involved with solving these problems for customers, you could be solving things that they've been worried about for a decade. And so now's the time to jump in and start to qualify for this. The system works. I familiarized myself over the last 2 months with these different service offerings. It's really quite cool what can be done for people. It's a little more customized. It's a little more use case oriented. It's not just providing a hot internet connection and walking away, but there's more revenues attached to it, and it's much stickier because you'll be involved in the strategic planning of the company. And once they put these solutions in and they're proven to work, they're going to stay. This is not something that people hop over to something else. When they've solved something they haven't been able to solve and it works right, it's not just a simple, well, now I'm going to go somewhere else because there's a 6% off. It works properly, and I don't know that someone else could deliver it for 6% off. So delivering the solution is a fantastic opportunity. And
we're kicking off a program to go back and buy back old solutions from customers to get them into new platforms because they're still working. And we want to get them into new hardware, new software, and new partner, new support agreements. So we're you have customers that are running solutions for a very long time. So it is Tom's exactly right. It's a great point, and that's what we're hoping to do with customers going forward is build that long-term relationship of adding solutions. So the hospital example I gave you, we started out doing some humidity and temperature sensors generally, and then we added temperature sensors for cancer drugs and blood supply, and now we've added temperature sensors and freezer management system for the COVID vaccine, and we're talking about a number of other use cases, right? So we've continued to expand well beyond the initial IoT use case once they saw the value and that it actually worked, and they already had the platform that it was easy to grow with. They felt confident they could add other use cases as they came up. So that's what we're hoping to accomplish with you and your customers. So appreciate the time, appreciate the opportunity. We're very excited about this partnership with BroadSky and the ability to bring wireless IoT and AI together. And we're super, super excited about this channel ecosystem that BroadSky has with you guys. And we have high expectations for this channel ecosystem. We think that this BroadSky channel could end up being our biggest route to market, and And I would not be surprised if that's the case. So please let us know what we can do to help you get there and what support you need. And we're thrilled to have you as part of the extended team. Thank you for taking the time, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, thanks everyone. This is a monthly series of webinars. Please join again next in March as we roll out another webinar on the BrowseGuide and Telesite offerings. Housekeeping matter, this presentation will be emailed to all people who signed up for the webinar itself, including the audio and the Q&A. It will also be posted to the BrowseGuide YouTube site if you want to review, and your channel manager can also send this to you. Additionally, we offer deep dive trainings for teams of people. So if you're running a team of salespeople and they couldn't all get on this call, but this is intriguing, we're happy to replicate this training to them and then start getting into use cases. That's always where the fun begins, is getting into use cases themselves. So please reach out to your channel manager in your territory, and we can start applying technology to solution, to sale, to MRC. Thanks everyone for joining. Look forward to talking to you again.